And get started. If assembly members would please go ahead and take their seats. I'm going to go ahead and call this work session to order here in a minute. We are live. Thank you. I now call to order this work session of the Anchorage Assembly regarding Assembly Youth Representative interviews. It is Friday, March 31, 2023. We're scheduled from 12:20 until 3:20 p.m. today. It is 2:23 p.m. and we'll go ahead and start with Assembly member introductions for the record.
Joey Sweet.
Daniel Voland.
Felix Ver.
Robin Dern.
Pete Peterson.
Christopher Constant.
Suzanne LaFrance.
Kevin Cross.
Meg Zalato.
And we have Ms. Quinn Davidson on the phone.
Yeah, hi everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Quinn Davidson. And also at the table, we are joined by
Heather McAlpine, Associate Ombudsman.
and our three candidates. And if you all want to go ahead and state your name.
Jacob Matthews. Jesse Tyrell. Andy Duryea.
Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. We're also joined by Jennifer Venaclausen from the clerk's office, and our municipal ombudsman is here, Daryl Hess, and May from his office as well as legislative services staff. Thanks, everybody, for being here today and joining this work session. A special thank you to the candidates and also Ms. McAlpine for all your work. Before I turn to Ms. McAlpine to talk about the process so far and her outreach efforts, I just want to note that we canceled the special meeting that was going to follow this work session. And we thought that we would go ahead and have the conversations with the candidates and then do the appointment at the regular meeting of April 11 instead of at a special meeting. And I do want to note for members especially who haven't been through this process, it's governed by Code Section 2.30.025, Youth Representative to the Assembly, in which the chair appoints the youth rep and the body confirms. And so today is a first step in that, and we will, once we get into it, we'll ask the candidates, or I'll ask the candidates to provide a brief intro about themselves, and then talk second about why they're interested in the position, and third, what they bring to it or what they hope to do. But before we get there, and then after that, there'll be opportunity for member questions, and then we'll ask them of each of you. We will hear from Ms. McAlpine.
Thank you very much. And first, I would just like to say thank you to the chair for the opportunity to participate in this, and to all of you for wanting to have this done and having this done. I think it's such a tremendous opportunity for the youth involved, but their families, their communities, and the whole community at large will benefit from hearing the voice of our youth. So it's been really great for me, and I'm super happy that this is happening. I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how I got to be so fortunate to do this, and a little bit about what I've done. So back in January, the working group was established. I was asked to lead, and basically, just as I understood the memo, was to lead to expand the recruitment for this position and to find some youth that would be interested in this very important job, basically. So I started out with a review of the historical documents, the code that the chair just mentioned. I did read a lot of background information. Basically, the code is where we get the information on the requirements and the responsibilities. Next step was to create an online application. So we worked through that, and recruitment documents. I would say that I got amazing assistance from Reprographics and the IT department. They were super helpful. I really didn't do a ton of this. I had great people helping me. I just was facilitator. So we put together an online application in form stack, had some flyers done, and I developed an information sheet, which kind of took the information from the code and kind of made it a little easier to read. And basically, this is what it is. This is we want you type thing. We also had conversations and agreed to suspend the resume requirement from an age demographic of 16 to 19. There's not a ton to put on there. And we hopefully that eliminated what may have been potential barrier for some students. It sounds quite intimidating to be like, submit your resume and your letter of interest and go online, fill out this application. So I thought that was a very good move. Sorry. Sorry, I have kids. So basically what I was super interested in, and I think the main focus of me was outreach, trying to utilize a lot of my experience and connections to get this word out to a lot of the communities. We wanted to, again, expand the reach and hopefully improve some of the diversity for the people that we were reaching. Some of the people that I reached out to through word of mouth and social media. In my experience, the best communication, the best way to get information out is through word of mouth, particularly for certain communities that I was interested in reaching. You can post flyers and you can, put things on the Muni website, but if you don't actually reach the people that are looking at those things or the people that are not looking at those things, a lot of people are not going to get that information. So I had information disseminated to diverse communities, including the Hmong community, Pacific Islander, Filipino, and Black cultural groups. I spoke with a representative from the Jack and Jill program with the NAACP, the GAP program. I reached out to an educator who works with Alaska Native Youth in the Native Youth Olympics. I shared the information with someone that I worked with who runs or basically puts out Anchorage's Spanish language newspaper, which is Sol de Medianoche. And we also had the position noted in 2 editions of the Assembly newsletter. May, who is the deputy ombudsman, just shared with me numbers, which is always good. We love numbers. And the post that she shared was shared over 18 times and with over 16 different community leaders from different cultural groups who were also noted in it. So I think that that is a really good first step, just getting that information out there. And I look forward to being able to expand upon that. And again, I think the personal touch and the personal outreach going forward will make a difference. I also wanted to, I had a pretty short time period to get all this done. And I understand that the quickest way to get to students and our demographic, 16 to 19, which is pretty much students, is through the school district. So I reached out to the school district. I had assistance from the chief of communications at ASD and the vice president of the school board. And the information was shared to all ASD principals, the ASD student advisory board, the school board members, and through their social media accounts. Personal contacts were also made with the social studies chair at West High School and the principal at Bartlett High. And I think that that was productive. At the chair's direction, I also reached out to the Youth Advisory Commission and the president, and that information was shared and an invitation was made to be included in the process. And I think that was also fruitful. And so in summation, we have 3 very qualified, and I'm super excited to have them here, applicants, and their schools represented are Bartlett, Polaris, and Stanford University Online High School. I do feel that they are strong applicants and they will be an asset, whoever is chosen, to the assembly and their community. And in closing, I just really, again, want to thank you for this opportunity. I really look forward to continuing to work on it because, it is an ongoing thing. We continue to need representatives just like we need assembly members. The other thing that I wanted to say is that I did have a couple of unsolicited recommendations. And one of those is that there might be consideration for a stipend for this position. There be the establishment of some sort of cohort to support them. There's the Youth Advisory Commission, and I think there's 15 of them. So for one youth assembly rep to kind of be going it alone is, could be difficult. So some sort of coordination with the Youth Advisory Commission or a cohort established here would be really great. And then something that I kind of made up myself that I was thinking would be awesome would be to forge some sort of relationship with the school district and the teachers there, where this could be incorporated somehow into coming up curriculum, how to write a resume, how to write a letter of interest, how to fill out an online application, and just education about what it is exactly that the assembly does in their poli-sci classes or government classes or whatever that is. And finally, I just want to say that I'd like to give credit to all the people that assisted me, which is my working group, which was Barb, Claire, and Jennifer. Allie in Legislative Services, she made a flyer for me. She was super helpful. She got it in the newsletter. Krista in Reprographics, Rosie in Purchasing, who is an untapped resource for outreach. She came down and volunteered her help and was amazing. And then Danita in IT with the form stack and my constant changes and the updates and all that. She was super amazing. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Go ahead, Mr. Constant.
Not a question, but I will let you know that I submitted a request to the Salaries and Emoluments Commission to address the question of a stipend for this work. So
Awesome.
it's in process. Not something we would decide. We would have a commission that looks at the question, but it's underway.
Thank you for that.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Constant. And thank you so much, Ms. McAlpine, for all the tremendous work you've done and your support and commitment of this program. Very much appreciate your efforts. We'll go ahead and start with some questions and begin our conversation with, oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, that's fine.
So sorry. May I be excused, or do you think there will be further questions for me? I actually meant to mention at the beginning that I'm off today and I just wanted to be here. I really am interested in this, but I did have a prior commitment, and so I have to run.
Oh, of course.
Sorry.
Apologies, we scheduled on your day off.
No problem. It wasn't intended, but I was determined to be here because I really do think this is super important, and I could go on forever about how important this is to the community and diversity matters and representation and all that. So I'm really happy to have been a part of this. I hope I can continue, and thank you all again for making this happen. And I'm really looking forward to working with one or all of you in the future.
Thank you, Heather. All right, well, welcome again. And we'll just go ahead and go down the line. And if you want to just give a brief introduction. And then the second question, so that you don't have to pack it all into one, will be for you to talk about why you're interested. But we'll take each question one at a time. So first question, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. So first of all, thank you for allowing me and all of these other super amazing candidates to be here. My name is Andy Duryea. I'm a junior and I go to Stanford Online High School. I was super excited to be, one of the possible candidates for this role. I used to go to West High School, right over there, then Inlet View Elementary. So I have like a pretty good experience with like our neighborhood schools. And I'm sorry, should I keep this kind of brief or just kind of?
Yeah, we can do like a minute or two,
Okay.
but we're flexible too.
And recently, in 2020, I started my nonprofit, Andy's Bears and Cares, which I got a 501c3 recognition for. And kind of the story behind why I started it was because my family adopted my Alaska Native sister from the foster care system. And when she came into our home, she brought all of her belongings in black trash bags. And so really what I wanted to kind of do with Andy's Bears and Cares, or ABC, was to provide youth in the foster care system with a piece of luggage and a teddy bear that they can kind of call their own. Because I think, for families or for youth who are kind of traveling around, in the foster care system, it's really important that they have something that they can call their own. And so that was kind of one of the most important things that I do right now is kind of work with Andy's Bears and Cares. And then I was also elected to be to be the chair of the Youth Advisory Commission, which I'm super excited about all the work that we get to do on that commission and all the people that I get to work with, and all the brilliant youth who are kind of involved with that process. I know I probably spoke for a little too long, but I just wanted to say thank you for having all of us here to discuss, youth in general and kind of, the youth representative position. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy. And we'll go ahead and use first names today. Normally we go by Mr., Ms., or member, but we'll go ahead and go at first names. So thank you, Andy. Jesse?
Hello, my name is Jesse Tyrell. I'm a sophomore at Polaris K-12. So I've been going to Polaris since kindergarten, all the way through. And in eighth grade, I joined student government, and that pretty much changed the direction of where I wanted to go. Since then, I have joined joined SAB, the school advisory board. I have attended multiple OSOG meetings, which is the Alaska Association of Student Governors, and presented resolutions there. And not recently, but less than a year ago, I started attending assembly meetings because my mom attends them constantly, and she encouraged me to go. And I found another passion outside of student government. I'd say the most, most recently through SAB, I attended the Senate education, I attended a fly-in to Juneau and testified in front of the Senate Education Committee for the raising of the base student allocation for ASD. I think it's a huge issue. And there I met some of our school board members, many legislators, and has inspired me to apply for this position to continue my way up to see if I can make a difference.
Thank you, Jesse. Jacob?
Hi, I'm Jacob. I volunteered, or I applied to be part of youth. I applied to be part of the youth,
Doing great. Keep going. You got it.
I applied to be the youth representative because, I go to a very diverse high school, Bartlett being one of the most diverse high schools in the nation. I learned a lot about different cultures just by sitting in the hallways during lunch or walking through them before and after school. I play football. I do other sports as well. I do cross-country skiing and track. So I get a bunch of different exposure to different groups of people, different cultures, and they all, at Bartlett, they all blend together. Each culture picks up a thing or two from another culture, and I'm a junior in high school now, so I decided this seems like a great opportunity to share what I've learned throughout high school, throughout the 2 years now that I've been going to Bartlett, and I wanted to help out.
Great. Thank you all so much. So the second question, some of you touched on it, is, why are you interested in this position? I think if you feel like you already addressed some of that, you could talk about what you bring or what you hope to achieve. And we'll go ahead and start back with Andy.
Yeah, so thank you, Ms. LaFrance. Um, so, a couple, so kind of why I wanted to apply for this position to kind of, get that question out of the way was because I was really kind of interested in the assembly and kind of learning a little bit more about local government. I've had, a pretty good amount of experience learning about the federal government and how that works. I was a United States Senate page for Senator Murkowski, which was like truly an honor to be selected for that role. And I learned, a lot about the Senate, a lot about how the federal government works and how that kind of functions. And so I want to learn a little bit more about local government and specifically the assembly and some of the processes. That kind of help create codes and charter, which we use every day. Specifically, I know this because I'm on Yak, and we use those codes and charter, and it really kind of uh, means a lot to us that we get to, or that the Youth Advisory Commission gets to have a seat at the table for this. Um, on the Youth Advisory Commission, one of the first things I did was create the mental health advocacy program because I thought that was the biggest issue facing youth, was mental health kind of coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Uh, there was, a lot of mental health issues that youth were facing. And so through that, we've been able to collaborate with the SAB, the Student Advisory Board with ASD, and local community partners to kind of partner with them and create, mental health resources for youth and kind of spread existing resources there. We were able to kind of develop a survey that youth or ASD students can take at the end of the year to kind of assess their mental health. Because one of the things that I noticed when I was on the MAP program on Yak was the amount of limited statistics surrounding youth mental health and kind of how outdated some of the surveys and some of the statistics might be. And so that's kind of an important part in figuring out how we can address this is to kind of see, um, what youth are struggling with in particular in the direction of mental health. Um, and I've been lucky to have some great members on Yak who have worked with me to kind of develop some of the resources that we use. We had one member in particular who worked for the National Alliance on Mental Health, and so we were able to use some of those statistics and resolutions and things like that. And right now we're kind of working on one to send to the legislator, the Alaska legislator, on Senate Bill 24, which addresses kind of mental health, and to give youth a voice in that process, in the legislators' process of kind of creating that bill, because I think that's a really important feature to have. There is to have youth input on mental health and have uh, youth contribute to what's going to impact them. And so I think that's kind of one of the biggest things there. And so really to kind of sum it up, I would like to learn more about the assembly's process, and hopefully, kind of take that and um, use it in the future, kind of use some of the skills that I've learned if I were to be the youth rep on Yak, and to kind of make myself a better chair of the commission. And I want to kind of become, a better member with kind of learning how some of the things on the assembly work. That way, we can get resolutions to the assembly on what matters to youth specifically. And one final thing, I know I've been speaking for a long time, but I really liked the unnumbered assembly resolution last year on creating, kind of like an advisory board for the youth representative that's kind of besides YAC, but with other community partners as well. I think that's a great idea, and I would love to, work on that and work with the assembly to develop that. If I was selected for the youth representative seat, I would also like to, give updates on kind of what is impacting youth, like mental health. I would like to do that once a month if I was selected for the youth representative seat. And then I would also like to acknowledge specifically people who have been supporting youth and like organizations that support youth. And I would like to do that once a month too if I was selected for the youth representative seat, because I think that's
Great.
really important to acknowledge
Thank
all the
you.
work. So thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
LaFrance.
Jesse, on why you want to be the youth rep and what you hope to achieve.
Yeah, so I joined student government in 8th grade, and ever since then, I've found out that I really, really enjoy making a difference. Specifically at my school, we presented a resolution to the Alaska Association of Student Governors in Kodiak, where we dedicated our gymnasium after our late gym teacher. Since then, we have done everything. Well, most recently, we just raised money for a water bottle refill station because our school is lacking working ones. So I have some previous experience with Robert's Rules, and I think what I would want to accomplish is kind of similar to what he said. I also was going to bring to the table mental health. I think realistic ways to help the problem is through implementing maybe social workers in public places, like destigmatized and would not need parental overview, like in public places like the library. I think supporting youth, vulnerable youth, like organizations like Covenant House. And then another thing I've noticed is this kind of lack of faith in the government that I've noticed. And obviously government is very broad, but I think just kind of reaffirming, I have strong connections in SAB and OSOG, and I think both being kind of an intermediary to these large organizations and across the ASD is just kind of reaffirming what can and can't be done through the local government. And I think that's really important. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. Jacob?
Both of them pretty much said the first part of what I was going to say, mental health. Looks like we all had that idea together. Another thing I would like to do is like bring some more like LGBTQ plus youth perspective, because as I've noticed, one thing I've noticed is that like a lot of youth throughout the not just in the schools, but like youth that don't go to schools, to public schools, are LGBT, you often get like cast aside or treated unfairly just out in public because they're openly queer. They're openly acting against what is considered the gender norm for how they present. So that's part of the reason I joined I applied for the youth rep position is to give perspective on that, and also because personally I'm a non-binary student going to a public high school. I've seen a lot of my fellow gender nonconforming students get bullied because they are gender nonconforming, and teachers will see that and do nothing. But the second there's a student who's in one of a gender norm conforming student fighting another gender norm student or bullying another gender norm student conforming student, then they'll get involved. And like I've seen that just out in public and out in schools, at school events, all of it.
Thank you, Jacob. So at this time, I'll go through the queue with member questions, and for each question, we'll give each candidate an opportunity to answer. Yes, we'll go in reverse order, and then maybe start in the middle for a couple questions, depending how many we have. Did you have a question? Nope. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Sweet, and then Mr. Salt.
So I'm sure we'll get a bunch of more immediately germane questions, but my questions, I want to try and focus more on what makes you really think as a leader, because this will be quite a significant position of leadership. And so who is a historical figure, public official, politician who you admire, and what is it about them that makes you look up to that person?
So Jacob, we'll go ahead and start with you. And that was a two-part question about how do you think as a leader, and who do you admire and why? Who do you admire and why?
I admire a lot of political people. My sister, she's not much of a politician, but she helps organize unions, and she's who I've learned a lot of my leadership capabilities from. I can see Felix laughing over there. He knows what I'm talking about. My sister, like, she's nice. It's like a lot of people understand, like, if someone's getting something done, they're doing it for a reason. My sister puts that mindset into a new direction, and I've learned from her a lot about that. Like, that's how I've learned to be a leader. Going back to football, when I broke my collarbone playing football, I was still on the sidelines helping every single day for practice. I was helping out the freshmen in weightlifting this week and constantly. Yeah, and I'm learning to be a better leader, and this position would help me with that. Plus, it'll also put my ability to lead to the test.
Thank you, Jacob. Jesse?
So some figures that I admire specifically on a kind of large scale are Threada Gorn, Gorn. I can't pronounce her name, but yeah, and Malala, other youth advocates who have really put in the work to make their voices known for the ideals that they believe in. On a more personal scale, I think school board member Kelly Lessons is a good example of someone who's just truly passionate and wants to make a difference. She was one of the ones who was with us in Juneau for all 3 days, and is just it just makes an incredible difference on a personal and citywide level through her passion and perseverance.
Thank you, Jesse. Andy?
Okay, so this was kind of hard, but I would say a historical figure that's not really not alive right now would be like Abraham Lincoln. I think that, I've been able to kind of learn a lot about kind of government through him. And I think there's like a lot that can be said, about him. He never gave up. He kept persevering even when it became difficult. I think that's kind of one of the things that I admire most about him. Kind of when the country was torn apart, he was able to unify it. And so I think that's kind of like a big piece there. And then I know not two, but I also have to say Senator Murkowski, because she's able to kind of see what's best for our state, and for our community. She doesn't vote one way. She's able to kind of see, what's best, and specifically with the CARES Act and the infrastructure bill that passed, she was able to negotiate, billions of dollars for our state. And I think that's kind of through the methods and approaches that she takes to that. And so that's kind of what I admire in a leader, someone who's not, always one way or one perspective, but someone who can hear multiple perspectives and kind of take that into account. So thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Mr. Sweet, or Joey. Randy?
Thank you. First, thanks for putting yourselves out there and applying for this role. Not an easy thing to do. So I think our job's pretty easy, right? We represent 1/6 of the geography of Anchorage, and we have a partner. We represent about, I can't remember the number, about 40,000 people, 48,000 people. ASD is, I think, about 41,000 students. So we also have community councils that we can get feedback from, and really our goal is to represent the voice of our district. So I think your job is much harder. And what I'd like to know is how you're going to intake and represent the voice of the youth of all of Anchorage. It's a big task. Thanks.
Thanks, Randy. We'll go ahead and start with Jesse.
So this is a question that I was thinking about earlier. And I think for me, it is by being an intermediary to the pre-existing student leadership in Anchorage and Alaska. I think through presenting resolutions, through presentations, and just through personal connection, I think through both state level and city level, getting the perspective and full grasp of the entirety of the city is important. And so I think really using the resources available to me as an SAB representative is important. Additionally, two of my best friends is the State Board of Education senior member and the president of SAB. And I think just being connected with this group is a good way to grasp the needs and wants of the Anchorage youth. Thank you.
We'll go next to Jacob.
I was thinking about that question last night. It kept me up for a solid 35 minutes trying to think of an answer to that. And I remember one thing that kept running through my mind is I interact with so many Anchorage kids in a regular calendar year or throughout the district because of the sports I'm in. I can talk to them while we're not actively doing something, and then after the event, before the event, I can talk to them as well. Look, and sure, that's a small amount, but if per event, but when you add it all up, they're oftentimes they're a well-respected person in their school because they do this sport or that sport or this event, and they try to help out everyone in their school. Well, I feel like I can ask them how's this part of town doing youth-wise, and I feel like I would get a solid, respectful answer, and they could ask me the same question, and I'd give them the same solid, respectful answer that I would expect to receive from them.
Thank you, Jacob. Andy?
Yeah, so thank you. And thank you for this question through the chair to Mr. Solt. I think that, it's really hard to kind of represent such a diverse amount of youth and amount of students. But I think kind of taking into consideration everyone's perspective on it is something that I wish to do. Is I wish to hear, not only people from downtown, but, people from Eagle River and people from Chugiak and Girdwood, and also people with diverse backgrounds, and to hear what they think on these issues. And I think specifically with that, it's kind of important to reach out to youth organizations too, and to kind of find, like the SAB and like the state board and the YAC, to kind of get their perspective on it too, because I know they have people who are interested, in these things and in these discussions, and I think that's a really important key there to do, to kind of find out, what all of the youth think, and the different perspectives and things that they get to bring to the table as well on addressing a certain issue is really important. And I wish to kind of hear all of those different perspectives if I was selected as a youth rep. Thank you, Ms. LaFrance.
Thank you, Andy. So I have 4 members in the queue: Ms. Dern, Mr. Rivera, Ms. Zalatel, and Mr. Constant. Robin, Felix, Megan, Chris. And I'm going to. Oh, go ahead, Felix.
Yeah, thanks. So I need to declare a conflict. So please keep me in the queue. I don't really think it's a conflict, but I feel like I need to declare it anyway. So I didn't realize until Jacob, you said this, but so Judy Jessen is my legislative aide, and Jacob and Judy are related. So I just feel like I need to declare that and just let the body know. Thanks.
Thanks, Felix. You can still continue in the work session. So thank you for making that known. Because we only have about 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure everyone gets a chance to ask and answer questions, I'll go ahead and go to a 1-minute timer on responses. And so we'll go back. I think Andy will be the first person to answer, and we'll go to Robin.
Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you all for applying. I'm so impressed, and I wish there was a way for us to take this energy and just bring all of it into this body, because your voice is very much appreciated. My question is related to something that we were discussing earlier today in one of our meetings, and it had to do with the fact that we have quite a few openings here at the municipality. We have vacancies in every department, and it's been a problem for the municipality. And I'm wanting to know how, as an ambassador of this body and of the municipality, you may go out into the community and try and encourage people to this type of work, either sitting on the assembly or working within the municipality, and ideas you have that we might use to do that in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. So go ahead, Andy, if you want to take that one first. Oh, and your microphone isn't on. There
Thank
you go.
And through the chair to Ms. Stern, when I became chair of the Youth Advisory Commission, I think it was kind of going a little bit downhill. At first, we had quite a few members dropping off. And so, when I became chair, I had to figure out a way to get, more youth involved and more youth engaged on the commission. And one of the ways that I did that was reaching out through youth organizations around town to see, if we could get people interested in YAC. And so I emailed every school in the Anchorage School District, every high school in the Anchorage School District, to see if they had someone who would be interested in that. And I did this as a way to not to kind of get an unconscious bias out of the way. Like if I knew someone who might be interested, I might not want to say to that person who I know, hey, you should apply, because they might have like the same thinking that I do in certain respects. So
And if you could just go ahead and wrap it up, that was the timer.
Okay, and so I kind of wanted to do it that way so we can get, a diverse ideology on the board. So thank you, Ms. Stern.
Thank you, Andy. Sorry, I put the volume up higher here. Go ahead, Jesse.
Oh, through the chair, could you repeat the question, please?
You asked me to repeat the question?
please.
Sure, Jesse. What I wanted to know was how you plan to take this opportunity and then become an ambassador in a way for this type of work, whether it be having someone sit on the assembly as a youth representative or working for government or considering this type of job within the municipality of Anchorage.
Yeah. So I I have aspirations to hold office at some point. I really connected with member Elise Galvin when I met with her in Juneau. And I don't think I would go any larger scale than that. I think I would stay in Alaska. But I think that that passion is something I want to share. And I think there are many others who just don't have as much of a platform to convey that. And I think, I mean, obviously I've mentioned the school board and OSAG a lot, but I think just recently there was a resolution passed through that the word for it is, but it encouraged schools to increase vocational learning. And I think resolutions like that and many others to just get more youth involved. There are many youth who are incredibly passionate, and I think that is something important to know.
Thank you, Jesse. Jacob?
I was thinking about this one on the bus ride over, really. Like Andy said, reaching out to youth organizations and n- n- and schools, that'd be a great idea to help. And then also like going around in your neighborhood to the youth around there, ask if they're old enough to work, ask them if they're interested in this or that position. And I feel like that would be one of the more efficient and also more kind of fair ways to do it, like not just through your neighborhood but like through your entire community. Like if you're in one part, if you live in this side of town, maybe like going to that side town, the other side town, and asking about that, about asking them those same questions as well.
Thank you, Jacob. So next in the queue is Felix.
Thanks, Suzanne. So my question, so I think it was Andy, during one of your responses, you talked about wanting to understand what matters to us as the assembly. And I get what you were saying. I think, though, one of the things, as one of the original sponsors that created this position, one of the things that I really wanted to make sure this position did was bring a voice to understand what matters to youth, because sort of us old fogies here, we got plenty of adults who are in our ears all the time telling us what matters to them, but we don't have, generally speaking, as many youth in our ears telling us what matters to them. So can you just, from your experience, speak to your understanding of what matters to Anchorage youth right now? Thanks.
And we'll start with Jacob.
I feel like I would be able to, because a lot of the things that are afflicting the youth throughout Anchorage oftentimes start in one small kind of area and spread out, kind of like a disease. It would kind of, if you catch it in one spot, ask about it in where it's developing, so you can learn about it more and more, and then that will help you understand it as the youth, and then the youth representative would be able to share that with the assembly. You being like, say, a certain group didn't or felt targeted with something passed. We'd be able to hear about it from the youth, and then we as the representative would be able to share it with the assembly, telling them how we heard it said.
Thank you, Jacob. Andy?
did it again. So I think, a couple issues that are really important to youth. First is mental health. I think that's, the biggest issue that we can try to address here. And I think creating resources is really important for that. But I would also like to address a point made earlier by Jesse about, the Covenant House. And so I was able to do like a couple partnerships with them in the past with my nonprofit. And it really kind of helped me to gain like a little bit more clarity, specifically on like youth homelessness and the issues they face. Right now, I think with the assembly, they're going to close the Sullivan Arena pretty soon. And I think that kind of poses a big concern there to youth, specifically not knowing if they're going to have shelter, not knowing if they're going to eat. And so I think that's, something that as a youth representative, I would want to address further. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Jesse?
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, COVID had massive repercussions on the youth through mental health, through social emotional learning, and through like academic learning in general. Coming out of this pandemic, we have a lot to catch up on. That being said, that's mostly an Anchorage school district issue. And I think, especially with mental health, I think that's larger than the Anchorage school district. I think it's something that can cross over into the municipality. I think, like I said, social workers in publicly available places that would not require parental consent or overview would be incredibly valuable to a lot of people who cannot afford or due to family issues cannot otherwise attend, stuff like that. I think putting more resources into Covenant House is also important. And I think there should absolutely never be any youth unhomed in Anchorage.
Thank you, Jesse. So we'll start for this next question with Andy, and the question will be from Meg.
Hi. I appreciate your passion and compassion for youth in Anchorage, all three of you. It's really notable. I have a much more practical question. I don't know. Have you seen an assembly binder? So I'm old school. I still use paper, but you can also get it digitally. But we get a binder of documents for every meeting. And it takes time to read through those documents. We have work sessions not unlike these from time to time to talk about issues. So just kind of, and I know it's a little off the cuff, but how do you tackle large amounts of information to drive towards a decision? Because it's one thing to learn, it's another to learn and move towards a decision. And if you just have a few ideas or you're not quite sure, that's okay too. I think all of our styles have been refined over time, but I would really like to hear how you might tackle the work. Thanks.
Yeah, so thank you, Ms. Salatel. And through the chair to Ms. Salatel, I think, one of the unique things that I'm able to do going to an online school is to have kind of a unique schedule. And so I can use some of that time to read over some of those documents that the assembly has and to kind of gain a little bit more context on it. And I can also use that time to reach out to youth organizations and to hear what they have to say on that issue, because I think that's, the most important thing that I'll be doing in this role is to kind of gain more youth perspective on it. So kind of reading it, and then, making it into something that, that everyone can kind of understand without, having to read through a big binder worth of material. So that's something that I would want to do. So thank you, Ms. Salatel.
Thank you, Andy. Jesse?
Yeah, so Polaris is an incredibly self-directed school. We have we have a lot of capstone opportunities to actually create a curriculum for ourselves, obviously overviewed by a teacher, to get a credit on something that we are interested in. And so I could create a class overviewed probably by my student government teacher, where I could just maybe present a resolution to the assembly, and that would be extra time to review, extra time to work on it. I think I am affiliated with a couple of organizations, but OSOG only meets twice a year, and SAB is once a month. And I have a lot of opportunity to dedicate a lot of time. I'm not currently participating in any sports, and I have aspirations for to really dedicate myself to this position, and would commit myself fully.
Thank you, Jesse. Jacob?
Obviously, contrary to what Jesse said, I do a lot of sports. So finding time there would be hard, but like before every sport, like even during lunch or after school, we have time to do our homework, and I'd view that as just another piece of homework to do. Because for my history class last year, most of our homework was, how do you think they could have solved this better? Or like one assignment we had to do was come up with an idea of how the Treaty of Versailles could have been more effective. And we did. And all of us got A's on that assignment because we gave evidence, we showed how it can help happen, and we spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Thank you, Jacob. Last in the queue, Chris?
Thank you. So probably something everyone around the table would tell you, that this job is a family affair, that your family pays a price just like you do in time and effort. And so my question is, how would you characterize your family's thoughts on you endeavoring to take on this position?
And Jesse, I think we're back to you starting.
You're asking how it would affect my.
I don't want to, no, I don't really want to say it this way, but it's the easiest way to say it. What does your family think about you standing for this role? But I don't want you to speak for your family per se. I just want, how would you characterize?
Yeah, so my mom attends the assembly every meeting she can. She was the one who originally encouraged me to attend in the first place. My dad is incredibly encouraging, and yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. I think both my parents, they both encourage me to really put myself out there and to try my best and to do the best I can.
Thanks, Jesse. Jacob?
So my entire family, yeah, and they've all told me this just like this week alone, after I got the email yesterday saying that I was invited to come here, my whole family said like, you're doing this, you're doing awesome. They all think this would be a great opportunity for me, and I share that idea. They all are saying this will help you grow as a leader, and I agree. This is going to, from my perspective, help me and help them help me better, and me help them better.
Thanks, Jacob. Andy?
I did it again. So thank you for this question, Mr. Constant. And it's actually kind of funny because my mom didn't know I was applying for it until just the other day. And so I think in that right, I'm kind of self-motivated and self-directed a little bit to do some of these things. But they're always like really encouraging of me and kind of what I want to pursue. Specifically, whether it was, getting into my school or, pursuing my nonprofit or pursuing work on the commission. They always kind of encourage me and kind of, I wouldn't say push, but they really kind of encouraged me to, you know, well, I would say support my decision and kind of pursuing those things. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Constant.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, so we are at the end of our time. We got started a little bit late, but I know people need to be places. I do want to give you all 30 seconds for final thoughts or questions or anything like that. And we'll go ahead and start with you, Jacob.
I would just like to thank all of you for allowing all three of us here, and I think I speak for all three of us when I say, yeah, we were all happy to be here, and taking this time out of our day to come do something that I think we're all passionate about. Judging from what I've heard from the other two candidates, I think we're all passionate and about it, and I want to thank you all for allowing us here.
Thank you, Jacob. Andy?
Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you to all of you, and thank you, Ms. LaFrance, for giving me this opportunity to be here and to kind of share some of my thoughts on, you know, why I think I would be a good candidate for this role. I know the other two candidates here are also, you know, equally as good as I am and equally, you know, fit for the position, but I just wanted to say thank you. And, you know, even if I'm not selected for this position, I would like to continue to work with the Assembly through the Youth Advisory Commission to kind of, you know, gain more youth perspective there. So thank you, Ms. LaFrance.
Thank you, Andy. Jesse?
Yeah, I have pretty similar sentiments to the other two. Thank you guys for allowing us to be here, and I'd also like to thank the other two interviewees for participating. And yeah, I think it's a really beneficial thing to have youth voice, and I think regardless of who gets the position, I think it'll be in good hands. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here today. I'm super impressed with all of you and really optimistic. I love your enthusiasm and your passion and your desire to be involved. And thank you so much for that and for your interest in the position and for applying and for being here today. We're out of time, but I'm just glancing at members to see. Felix, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm wondering, Suzanne, I know there was supposed to be a special assembly meeting that got canceled. Can you just speak to, like, were we just going to reschedule that meeting, or are we going to take this up at a regular meeting?
We'll take it up at a regular meeting, the regular meeting of April 11, and then we'll be in touch with you all before that time. Any other questions, or go ahead, Chris?
I think that the procedure is that the chair will make an appointment and we will receive that as a potential confirmation. And so at some point between now and the 11th, I think the chair will make the call and then we'll see some documentation.
Yes, as I had mentioned at the start of the meeting, Anchorage Municipal Code 2.30.025 identifies the procedure, which is, as the vice chair said, the chair appoints and the body confirms. And so we will have that appointment at the regular meeting of April 11. So thank you again so much. Appreciate you being here, and thanks all of you. Hope you all have a nice weekend. And with that, we are adjourned.